So
I don't have to do an official introduction for the rabbi, but instead, what I'm going to do as an official introduction is announce that his birthday is on Sunday. And so I think that we should all
I just heard what the weather on Sunday. You guys scared the hell out of me.
But I think we should all sing happy birthday. I'm not going to use my microphone, don't worry about it. Okay, so somebody who's musical, maybe Jean, you could give us a start. Somebody? Yeah.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ella. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Wow.
Good job. Yay.
Thank you very much.
more.
Pleasure. 67 on Sunday. Great age.
You don't look a day for age.
Young.
Is it on? Can you hear?
Can you hear me? Is it on?
I don't think you're on.
I don't know.
There we go. You got it.
There you go.
No, now, oh my God.
You're on now.
Scary. Okay. So, just to go a little bit back to the last 2 Wednesdays, the first Wednesday was a conversation about relationship in Judaism between the individual, the community, and God. The second one was about what really God expects of us, and we Jews know exactly what He expects of us. Not really. I mean, we're still guessing. Tonight, what I wanted to do is to talk about the war that both Christianity and Islam and Judaism have with secularism in America. And so I've been using this text in the past, and I find this text extremely revealing and pretty inspiring. So you have 2 columns. The left column is the secular view of the world, especially when it comes to different values. The right column is the Jewish view, and I'm going to select a few of them. Those are materials that you can take home and continue the discussion throughout the winter, so that you don't have to go out or go shopping. Just have deep conversation. Yeah, totally. So, actually, I think it's good to go over this, especially after the election. I don't know why the election gives you a little bit more material. Thank you very much. Knowledge. Knowledge in Judaism was always about acquiring wisdom. It was about arriving at a stage of being a sage. A sage is this older member of the community, of the family, that sits in one of the chairs around the Passover Seder while reading the Haggadah in Hebrew, and no one understood what he was reading. But this was the sage. This was the person that acquired most of the wisdom, not only because of the age, also because of the study, the learned Jewish scholar. Out there, the secular world, knowledge really, most of the time, is to acquire power. The more I know, the more powerful I am. The more I know, I can use it in such a way that you will never figure out what I'm doing, and therefore I will be more successful. This was not the attitude in Judaism. It wasn't about the power. So this is one of the comments here that shows a little bit the difference between, and by the way, you are welcome to share with me how Christians look at knowledge. What is knowledge for Christian people?
Which Christian people?
Which Christian people? The one sitting in front of me. Am I in the wrong building?
Well,
Wow.
depends on whether you're liberal or conservative or fundamentalist or evangelical or,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, we have some of those sects in Judaism. Not as many as you guys are. You have. And we don't know what to do with this. We have 3 or 4, and it's too much for us. But how would knowledge be different? The desire to acknowledge or to have knowledge in determining what kind of life you're going to have. How is this different between different sects in Christianity?
Well, in the fun.
What is for you? Forget about, maybe that was a mistake. Forget about, each of you can share with me a little bit.
Well, I grew up in a fundamentalist background. This isn't on.
Is it on, is it green?
Nope. Now it is. Okay. I grew up in a fundamentalist background, and knowledge was about that one man. It was always a man who had that power to tell you what the Bible said. It wasn't for you to go and seek your own level of knowledge or to question. It was about having that one person who had all knowledge and therefore was in control.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes?
To me, knowledge is having an advantage, not necessarily to
You gotta hold
use,
it up to your mouth, please.
not necessarily to use in a powerful way, but I think of friends of mine who are smarter, if that's what we call having more knowledge. I think they have an advantage of me of understanding things, just a more worldly background because they are more knowledgeable than I am.
Okay. Yes? Oh, you'll be dancing all night, Chris.
Long arms.
You guys can pass it around, I don't have to be instructed.
I've always had a view, I guess the older we get, the wiser we become. And I think in a academia way that you see it in business and science and rah-rah-rahs when they have meetings and get-togethers and cheer on the groups. And a lot of secular, that, wisdom is, or knowledge is powerful. Knowledge is for learning. The true power comes within. The true power comes through our wisdom. Wisdom of the years, wisdom of that learning, and the knowledge that we've acquired. That's the way I look at it.
And I think it's also important to be able to share it. I think all of us should become mentors to other individuals. Sometimes, even if they don't want mentors, we need to be the mentors. But usually we are invited to share some of the wisdom, and it shouldn't die with us. And so this is a little bit of the Jewish view and some of the views I heard. The next one, I used to take my confirmation class. We had confirmation at grade 12 because we wanted to love the kids 2 more years before. And then this is one of the votes I lost with my board. They moved it to 10 because it was too much to demand from parents for 2 more years of loving their children. So confirmation became. You don't mind me telling you some secrets from the old child. No, but confirmation. So I will take them to. We went to New York. I had to show my kids Jewish New York, and there's so much Judaism New York. They usually came back. Some of them never flew before in their life. They will come back, and their eyes will be open, and it was beautiful to see them. And so we'll stop. Of course, there was no direct flight. We'll stop in the airport, and I will wage with them to find me a magazine that has fat people on the pages. And of course, none of them came with any magazines in airports with fat people. Which leads me to the next one. Beauty is spiritual. I think in Christianity too. I think all religions that are committed to the teachings of the religion see beauty as spiritual. This is not how the world out there, the secular world, sees beauty. They see beauty as a material, as something that you can merchandise. Look how we are overwhelmed with just the commercializing for Christmas or Hanukkah. By the way, it's the same crap. Not a holiday, but the way it's merchandised. And it's all about the beauty that is outside. Nothing is about the inside. Nothing is about the soul. It's all beauty that is visual, and that's what is being sold out there. And so this is so the fight that I think we have with the left column is a fight that all religions need to join together to try to uproot this kind of a approach to life, an approach to understanding what we're all about. And so, spiritual beauty. Do we raise our kids with this? Are we at fault for, are we ourselves the wrong role models about this topic? Do we sit with our children and talk about their souls? How much time we spend about talking about their souls? Yeah, it'll be nice. It'll be interesting to look at the cover, inside the cover, and not just on the outside. And this is, this I think leads to all kind of activities on the part of young people that are definitely not pleasant, and we need carefully to monitor this. The next one is this charity versus justice. I have, most of the difficulty I have is about this season. Suddenly everyone discovers in this season that they need to be charitable. What was the World Herald front page? Goodfellows.
Yes.
Wow, they pushed Goodfellows. I don't know if you remember, but there were times that there were pictures of the people who are enjoying the Goodfellows.
Right.
They have a whole description and pictures of those people, which I think it's abhorrent, because those kids and those parents appear the next day someplace, and they can be identified as people who are seeking or looking for charity. Is it possible to do charitable things quietly,
Yes.
where the receiver and the giver don't know who they are? Instead of parading it, I mean, it's a good cause. They raise money, good money, and they do good stuff with this. But I think the justice is what really permeates in our religion, or the way we look at this. You do it because it's the just way to conduct yourself and your activities, and this is the way you can distribute justice to other people. Instead of, there's something about charity, agape in Greek, which is more about love. Is it possible to not to love someone and still give tzedakah? I mean, do you need to love someone in order to do the right thing?
No.
Yeah, so justice shall you pursue. This is what the prophet said. And so it is justice in a just way that we need to pursue. And so charity seems to me to address things we see and promote our heart to feel sorry for some of those individuals, and then it prompts us to give something. I'm suggesting that maybe it's time to look at this differently. You know they need something, and you do it because that's the right thing to do it. And I think it comes from a deeper sense of understanding of how life needs to be conducted. The world out there shows always pictures of needy people, of you see them now in corners now. Oh my God, there are a lot more than used to be. They're standing there in this cold weather. I mean, they do it because is this the only way to raise the sympathy and the compassion on the part of people driving? I don't see a lot of people stopping there. I mean, I see them standing there. When was the last time you guys stopped for anyone standing in a corner? First of all, it's dangerous because there are cars behind and in front. They always stay in such a place that it's very hard to stop. But maybe you can park and do something that will bring some benefit to them.
But Rabbi,
Yeah.
the Open Door Mission tells you not to give money to these people.
Absolutely.
They give cards, and they will come and pick them up.
Yeah.
They will do a lot of things. So I don't think it's a good idea. A lot of these people, they're just doing it for money. You'd be surprised how much money they make.
Yeah.
And they normally, and there's always the possibility that what they're using it for is something other than food, such as drugs.
Yeah, except I hope we are not going to investigate every person that is asking for help. I mean, you can go crazy if you continue analyzing and discussing. I agree with you that some people are using it in the wrong way. Some people, I remember groups in New York, we went to a deli. Thank God we have a deli here across the street now. But it's not a New York deli yet. It's going to get there. But you get those sandwiches and you can't finish it. And we used to wrap it in aluminum foil. And on the way to a Broadway show, all the way down from the deli, you give the food to some of the people there, and they will really appreciate it, or they will throw it at your face because that's not what they want. So, okay, they're human beings, and we need to treat them as human beings. Yes?
Our youth director actually interviewed some people. I think I can yell. No.
They don't want you to yell.
Because then I did.
No, it doesn't pick up.
Our youth director interviewed some people who were standing on a corner and trying to get help. They said, if you think this is an easy way to get money, you ought to try it. And it was a couple of women, in fact, a younger woman and an older woman, and they said, that's really tough. That there has to be an easier way than this if that's how we want it. Recently, I saw a man standing with a sign that he was hungry, etc. And so I stopped at Burger King, went around the block, and it was at a stop sign, so I could just hand him this bag. And he was so happy, he sat down immediately and started to eat. I don't think we can make judgments about all of these people.
I agree.
Well, on top of that, can I say where Christians demand certain payments for the charity that they give. So Open Door Mission, for instance, doesn't just give mission for free a lot of the times. They'll have to sit and listen to a Christian statement, whereas people in need don't necessarily want to be preached at in order to get the stuff that they get. So it's not just Open Door Mission, and they do good work, I'm not saying they don't. But that's why people don't go to those places, is because they don't want to have to give anything back in return. You know, it's not free mission at that point. It's not God's mission, it's their mission that they're working for. So there's a stereotype about that as well. So not only can you not judge the people, but you can't judge the missions either. That's all I'm saying.
Nice. Correct.
You know, I spent 18 years working with the homeless people in Omaha, so I know a little bit about it. And one of the things that we do is we see these people out there, and we immediately make a judgment about them, that they're lazy, they don't want to work. But some of those people really need it. Not all of them, I agree. Some of them are out there just trying to scam me. One of the things that when I first looked at this list and I saw charity and justice, it occurred to me, if we had justice, we wouldn't need charity.
But I think the idea is to start from the level of justice.
Right.
I mean, to start to find what is the right thing to do. I sometimes, we at Temple Israel did similar things to what you guys do here in the charitable justice world. And you sit down and you put those packages for kids to go home for the weekends to have food, and you are amazed. This is the richest country in the world with so many resources, and you still are putting the Jell-O and the peanut butter in a kid's bag for the weekend. I mean, justice, it definitely has to be the foundation of this work. I'm just suggesting that there's something less kosher in the word charity. I don't know how else to. Less kosher, you get it. I think if we start with justice, I totally agree with you. We can get to the level maybe of stopping to do the charity. Although until we have it, we need to continue doing it. in Judaism, when I meet with a couple, we talk about rising in holiness. It's okay. It happens. The word in Hebrew for the covenant relationship between a couple, and it doesn't matter what gender at this moment, is that there is a attempt to rise in holiness by sharing with each other relationship. So we call it kiddushin. Kadosh is holy. That's the word for betrothal in Hebrew, kadosh. It's interesting how the phrase in the secular world is falling in love. There's no falling, it's only rising. There's no trapping. There's no I stumble and I fall in love. It's me knowing you is raising both of us. And I think this is an interesting difference out there in the secular world, falling in love. And how do you measure that? They talk about each other like they talk about adopting a puppy. No, there's a lot more. Once upon a time, the clergy in different denominations were worried more about the red wine on the white gown than really investing. How many meetings you guys had with the clergy in your time to talk about the covenantal relationship and what marriage means? I have to tell you, it's getting a lot better now. There's no couples, for example, at Temple Israel, that doesn't get counseling and doesn't get a serious conversation about intimacy, about budget, about children, about in-laws, about understanding the whole family of that person and the whole family of the other one, and then relationship with friends. I mean, it's more than just, oh, you want to get married? Okay, what date? What time? No, we don't do it anyway. And I know that the clergy in this congregation also are doing something very similar to this. Yes?
And does that help with the divorce?
That doesn't guarantee that there will be successful marriage, by the way. You still have the credit cards and the drugs and the alcohol. Okay, so those kind of addictions still exist. But it definitely helps. It definitely helps. It's not 100% successful, but it's understanding that the relationship and marriage is a lot deeper than just two people meeting each other and having a date on a calendar. Jewish weddings are short. They're maybe half an hour. We worry more about life after the wedding. The wedding is easy. You're shaking your hand.
Yeah, good point.
That's where we need to spend. I also, I don't know if you guys do it, but after 5 years, I invite the couples to come talk again. So we are prepared to do, there's a program called Prepare and Enrich. And I saw the books.
Same thing.
I know you use the same thing. And so prepare is to prepare a couple. Enrich is when suddenly you're stuck 25 years in marriage and it becomes stale. And so we have a program that helps people to rejuvenate their relationship. Rabbi, I'm still in love with her, but I'm not loving her. Excuse me? What? I'm not in love, but I still love her. Okay, this is the language we hear sometimes. Hello? What's going on here? That's where they need a little bit of injection of adrenaline or some other kind of drug. Happiness and joy. It's very interesting also, this constant conversation about the pursuit of happiness. What is that? Okay, there's a constitution and everyone knows how to quote that line. What is the pursuit of happiness? Is it possible that sometimes happiness is behind us, tapping us on the shoulder and saying, I'm here, turn around. Or I'm inside of you, you need to discover the happiness. That's why the word simcha. Simcha is not something that comes from outside. It's something that ones need to discover within themselves. It's inside of all of us. What?
I've always understood happiness as being something that's more or less, that happiness is something that's more or less fleeting. And that's what really is important, is contentment. Contentment is more long-term, and it's something that's more personal. And happiness is something that involves more people, and family and friends and so forth. And it occurs on a daily basis and occurs on an occasional basis. But contentment is something that is more lifelong if you follow careers that you want, and everything about your life is the way you want it to be. And
But that's not the word that is used out there.
Joy.
It's all about happiness.
yeah.
I want to be happy.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God, I'm not happy for 5 minutes. What am I going to do? Okay, big deal. So what?
So maybe
Just
joy-
get over it.
So maybe joy is something that is
Joy-
in line with contentment.
Yeah, the joy comes inside and you need to discover it. You need to discover it. But this idea of pursuing it, and so people pursue happiness with all kind of addicted kind of materials. It can be in a bar, it can be in all kind of other ways of inducing this kind of happiness. And it's,
Someone can be very content with their life, but they're going to be filled with periods of sadness.
I hope not.
Over,
Yeah, but it,
we're all going to feel feelings of sadness for.
and that's okay, but it's not the American way of pushing it. You need to be happy 24/7. God forbid there's a moment that you're not happy, life is over. No, it's not. You have to work on it. I mean, and it can be fleeting, similar to this ecstasy or joy, in religious moments. Religious moments, even for Moses, it was very short time. He had to deal with them 40 years in the desert. So the burning bush happens, but not all the time. I'll skip some. It's in front of you. Out there in the secular world, life is what we get. In Judaism, life is what we give. It's not what we get. What are the expectations? Sometimes I'm amazed what people expect from life. Life doesn't owe us anything.
We have a phrase, life is what card you get dealt, or what deck you get dealt.
Oh, it's too depressing. It's too depressing. Especially for people that don't play cards. I mean, they never get the image.
I have a friend that says, the guy that dies with the most stuff wins.
The most toys. Yeah, I think it's someplace here. Good. But I think really there is expectations on the part of lots of people in our secular society of expecting life to do things for them instead of them rolling the sleeves and getting to the mud and doing something for themselves. And also to giving. I mean, I'm talking to the wrong crowd. I mean, I'm sure you're here. No, but I think definitely religious institutions and that are truthful, there will be about giving, about, I have seen, this is something so amazing, to move from the temple to here. I've seen so many people, I wish temple had so many volunteers as the volunteers that are here.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I from here I go sometimes back to the temple. I sit with the staff. I tell them, that's what I learned. You better start doing it. No one listens to me now because I'm not a rabbi. By the way, we hired a rabbi last night. So it's not yet open with names and stuff, but we made an offer and he accepted it. So there will be someone on board 6 months from now. Rights of individuals in a secular world versus the obligations of individuals. The rights. We speak a lot about rights of individuals. Human rights. When are we spending time on talking about obligations of people? the obligations of individuals to the society.
We have libertarians to blame for that, and Ayn Rand.
Okay. I don't want to point fingers or mention names. No, I think this is the American, the go west young men. This is the American psychic. I don't think we have the rights. We don't talk enough about obligations. Similar to, by the way, animals. Why aren't we spending more time talking about, I have the animals a little bit later here, about what is my responsibility to animals? Humanity responsibility to animals. I will never forget, it was many years ago. When was the Triple Crown winner, Secretariat? What year was that?
73.
Oh my God, look at you. For me, 73 is Yom Kippur War. For you guys, it's a horse. Fascinating.
You didn't ask about the
We don't have horses in Israel. I mean, we don't have races in Israel. So I grew up without it. Totally deprived. But there was a New York Times article on that day, after the victory of the horse. Few pages, front, second page, third page, all about the horse. And then page 12 was an article about 4 cameramen from CBS that died in a helicopter crash. So you sometimes think about where those news come. Just a little bit of a reminder about sometimes animals and how they sometimes viewed, but we need to talk also about our responsibilities to animals and to humans at the same time. Individualism versus community building. Well, this is a congregation that is about community building. But out there, it's all about me. All the time about me. It's a lot about individual and not about community, which is similar to what I get versus what I give. You cannot think about community in the sense of what I take from the community, what I give. Everyone can give something to the community, and you create something more important, not only for you as an individual, but for you as a community. Oh, I love this. Fast food versus reflective food. So, you in Christianity and in Judaism and in Islam, we hesitate a few minutes before we start eating by reciting a blessing. We also have blessing after we finish the meal. There is a reflective moment. Thanksgiving just came. I hope we thought about this dead turkey that was absolutely dry, wasn't it? No, just kidding. How this turkey arrived at our plate. How many people were involved in the process of making sure that the turkey gets to our plate? Think about this one day. Start counting. A lot of people. This is about reflective eating. Being able to understand not only God's blessings on the earth, but also what it takes to prepare the food and to bring the food to our attention. And also to think about people that don't have food, and the hungry, and the homeless. So that's what reflect versus fast food. Yeah, I remember. So what do? Do you say a blessing over cheeseburger in Judaism? Depends what you practice. So I have kids in the youth group who go through McDonald's and say the blessing before and then order something forbidden, mixing cheese and meat. It's okay, at least they know how to say the blessing. There's a way of looking at this in a positive way. Go to the second page. I don't think we can cover all of them, but I think both Christianity and Judaism and Islam have something very much in common about paying attention not only to the obvious but also to the hidden. Just because we are in this room doesn't mean we are in this room. It is possible we are sitting in the brain of God now, and we are assuming that we are sitting here. What I'm suggesting is that there are things around us that are not obvious, and that we need to pay attention. The world out there, the secular world, pays a lot of attention to the obvious, the one seen, the one experienced, the smell, the taste. But there's out there a world that people who are religious, I think, are capable of shedding some veils and being able to go deeper into the hidden. That's what religion is so fascinating. Okay, I see some expressions on the face. Is it understood? I mean, is there any comment to make about this? The obvious versus the hidden. Talk to me about the hidden in Christianity.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
I can tell you, from the Christian tradition, this is my favorite time of year because there is a preface that is written in the Lutheran Church for when you do communion in the church. And it goes like this: in the wonder and the mystery of the Word made flesh, you have opened our eyes to a new and radiant vision, that by seeing something that you can behold, you are able then to relate to that which you cannot see. And so that whole idea of incarnation at Christmas time, for instance, for the Christian church, is exactly what he's talking about. By having something tangible that you can see, something that's visible, you're able then to look through that to the invisible, the hidden, of the mystery of life that's there and moving all the time around us and through us, under us, over us, all that. But isn't always consciously right there ahead of you, but it's always, imparting through you some kind of spiritual connection.
And so are all the liturgies. I mean, you don't have to wait for Christmas to experience this. Every time you come Sunday morning here, or every time there's a service in the sanctuary, there is this moment where it's a lot more than what we perceive. And the question is being able to disconnect ourselves from the body and allow for the soul to hover over and to be able to witness things that sometimes the eyes just see the obvious, but the soul sees the hidden. And we need to train ourselves. We need to train ourselves to be able to look with the eyes that God gave us and to see more than what we see. It's not easy, but again, back to the Moses and the burning bush. He only turned his face. Look at the text in Exodus. He just turned his face and he saw the burning bush and saw something unique, that it was not consumed. And that attracted his attention. We need to use our heart and vision to be able to witness those kind of things. Because everyone there sees the obvious. The obvious is boring. It's not inspiring. Although we don't have a choice. We have those of us who has a good vision, we see it. And we try to understand what's obvious. But more exciting is to understand what's hidden. Any other comments on that? It's a little bit too philosophical.
Is it possible that, because when you're talking about this, it feels very theoretical and out there, it feels very hidden. And I'm curious if you could give us a story or some relatable experience, personal experience of your own in terms of experiencing the hidden.
Yeah, there was a time in my life that I hated the fact that I had polio. And I think, looking now, 67 years later, I think I was blessed by having polio and not serving in the Israeli army and coming dead in a casket. But it takes time to understand God's actions in your life. I mean, I'm talking about the hidden. Those are beautiful crumbs that God places in front of us, and sometimes we just skip over them, don't notice them, and that's why we have pretty much a boring life. I think the idea is to be able to open whatever is unpacked and experience it. So there was a revelation that came a few years ago. I'm very comfortable with this, and So here is the example of how it came into fruition. So I talk to my parents every day. It's easy now to talk to someone in a foreign country. You pay a fee and it costs nothing. It's like a local call. So I call a lot more now because it's cheaper. No, because I love them. I just wanted to trap you for a minute. So about a few years ago, she says to me, I never apologized to you. I said, for what? For what? You're not my mother? I thought maybe some kind of a revelation that's what I said. And she said, no, I wanted to apologize for you because I don't think I boiled the water enough when I gave you the first bath in Tzfat in 1950. And so she took upon herself,
Guilty.
what?
She felt guilty.
She felt guilty for something that is not connected at all to polio. But anyway, that's what she kept in her mind. And I said, thank you, Mom, for not boiling the water, because I'm a rabbi now, and I am alive. And so those are the kind of hidden things in our lives that are waiting to be redeemed. And I think we are sometimes afraid of touching them because we don't know where they're going to lead us to. I think that our job is actually to redeem all those moments and to make sense of who we are and what our life is all about. Anyone has other examples of hidden? I mean, I'm not the only one with examples. Come on, give me a moment where you experienced something that was not obvious.
Well, at a previous church, I was involved in a discussion that was about the material world and the spiritual world. It wasn't necessarily hidden. And we discussed times in biblical times and contemporary times where the two more or less merged together. The burning bush might have been a good example of that. The birth of Christ might have been an example of that. And I thought, I tried to think of other times when the material and the spiritual might have come together, and in terms of people such as Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King and others. So that's the only comment I wanted to make.
Okay.
When you speak about the hidden, I don't necessarily think of it as hidden, but I think of the two worlds as existing, as coexisting, the material and the spiritual, and at times in the life of humanity where they more or less merge, and somehow or the other something changes, and hopefully for the better.
Yeah, I'm not condemning the material world. The material is still coming from God. So there's holiness in the material too. And I think sometimes we don't understand the holiness in the material. But I think both of those worlds are in front of us, and they need to be definitely used in the right measure. Yes?
I just wondered, could you talk a little bit about the faith in science and grammar? Could you talk a little bit about faith in science and grammar of humility?
Yeah. Science, it's on the top of the page. I think sometimes the discoveries in science are definitely coming so much faster than the discovery in ethics that we need to behave. I'm definitely way behind in the discussion. It's amazing that in our cell phone now from, can I use the word Apple? Okay. From the phone has the same power that it took to get a man to the moon. In one, even more, and it's going to get, it's amazing what science is. And science, for some people, it's God. And so there is also the idea of humility, and to discover the intricacy of humility too. to be able to stand and witness the scientific amazing discoveries, but at the same time to also not make science into a god, and to still be able to practice humility. I mean, just because I cannot dissect or smell or touch love doesn't mean love doesn't exist. Yeah, I love bar mitzvah. After bar mitzvah, usually at Temple Israel, we have parents who speak to their child, which I think is one of the most important moments in children facing their child. Not everyone in the congregation likes it, but they can do whatever they want now. I'm not worried. There is definitely a drama in parents not talking about the ski adventures of the children or the family. That's not what I'm talking about. Is taking, for example, the Torah portion that the child just read and finding in the Torah portion things to tell the child that are meaningful about dynasty, about grandparents, about the important things. And so sometimes they will say to the child, "Oh, you did a good job." Oh my God. It's a terrible thing to say to a bar mitzvah child. It's not a job. A job is a job. Bar mitzvah, or being able to be called to the Torah, it's something a lot higher, something a lot more meaningful. So this one is the best versus the good. Definitely in the secular society, not only the best get trophies, everyone gets trophies. I'm more interested in looking for the good. You don't have to be the best always. Are you good? Do you understand what you just did in your tzedakah project or whatever action you did? The best drives us crazy. I would like to see us moving sometimes to talking about the good. How do you make a person a good person? Doesn't have to be the best, but has to be a good. And this is something that I think we are fighting with secular society. I love the gated communities. I'm sure we'll have a lot more now. Gated communities versus open communities where real people interact. This is the tri-faith idea. Instead of living behind fences, it's going to be open. That's why we have a conversation about the space in between the buildings. I mean, this is the nightmare that both of us have, that we have those beautiful buildings, and everyone is going to get stuck in their building, and no one is going to come out.
I think that's a purely American sociological phenomenon.
What? Which one?
Gated communities.
Oh, it's in other places too.
I'm finished. I've said what I want to say.
No, I have to tell you, there are other places in the world with gated communities, totally. And I think they are increasing rapidly, gated communities.
Really?
Yeah, totally. I was in London. I went actually to visit some of those gated communities and to see the difference and who is there. It was very interesting
And it draws a distinction between wealth and class.
I don't want to know you. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Well,
Yes.
On a more micro scale, one time someone said the worst thing that happened for American neighborhoods was the garage door opening. Because you used to get out, open your door, say hi to your neighbor, and now it's open the door, drive in, close the door.
I think the air condition killed us.
Well, that too.
Yeah, the air condition was a disaster.
No front porch.
No front porch, yeah, totally. And therefore, now you address a child that is misbehaving outside, and then the parents come with a lawyer immediately. what did you say to my child? Excuse me, I was very polite, I said just the correct things. No, only we are raising the children.
Don't let the
Yeah.
cat on fire.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Just because I put those 2 columns doesn't mean I have solution for everything. I mean, I put them there so you can see the contrast and you start thinking about this. Prayer as an outward expression of faith versus the Hebrew להתפלל, to judge oneself. So this is very interesting. So in Judaism, to pray is never being the same after the prayer. Prayer in Judaism is arriving at an intersection, saying the prayer, and then moving completely in a different speed and different caution after that. So when I say a prayer such as, thank you God for clothing the naked, that's not enough. I need to take upon myself, that's why the verb is proactive, to do something about the nakedness of people, which means clothes. I'm happy you're here all the time, because this is the model we have, which is great. Together ink, or we drop the ink now. We're just together. We're not ink anymore. I love it. I love it. Prayer needs to be coming from deep inside, from the pain, from the joy, from the sadness, from the frustration that is at the bottom of your belly. That's where prayer has to come from. Sometimes out there in the secular world, again, I want to make sure that you're clear about what I'm saying. I'm not saying anything different here than I will say at the synagogue or at the mosque. I think there is understanding on the part of religious crowd of what I'm talking about. But out there, look how they use the word prayer all the time. I will pray for you. Yeah, really? You? Yeah. How are you? Do they really want to stop and listen to how I am today? How many times people approach you and say, how are you, and didn't even wait to hear? I mean, where is the prayer out there in the streets?
And usually the answer is just a simple fine.
Yeah, because part of it is our fault. I actually did sometimes stop people. Oh, thank you for asking. Sit down, let's have a cup of coffee. I'll tell you how I feel. Try this tomorrow. Try tomorrow and you'll lose all your friends. Or what you thought are your friends.
Might make one.
No, maybe you'll pick up some. Yeah, I think people in a world of texting maybe want to have friendships. Maybe that's what they desire now. But, you know.
What was this across from the prayer?
להתפלל, to pray.
Judge oneself.
To judge, yeah. Every prayer has to be personal judgment of where you are. Prayer is not just to pray without judging. You need to put yourself at the risk of understanding where you are in the relationship to the prayer you recite. Prayer should never be a lip service. Prayer has this ability to move from inside, but also go inside and figuring out where are you in the line of prayer. Yes?
So, I guess I need that thing.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Thank you, Chris.
So it's not just putting yourself down, that kind of thing, but it's saying, what could I do better? What
Of course.
action do I take?
It has to be a connection between the prayer you just recited and judging yourself of how you are acting on behalf of this prayer. That's how prayer is understood in Judaism.
There is a picture of the Pope who says, first you pray that God feeds the homeless, and then you go out and feed the homeless. That's how prayer works.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Who wanted this?
1968.
A little bit closer.
In 1968, I was in Vietnam, and it was during the 68 Tet Offensive, and I was on a tank. It was hit by rockets, and it was on fire, and 3 of my friends were inside of it. And I'd been hit 3 times by the rockets, and I picked up a machine gun, and I shot it out with the godless communists, and I was hit 3 more times, and I was hit in the chest. My lungs started to collapse. I was hit in the tummy, and I was holding my insides in my hands, and I was praying. I said every prayer you could imagine, and I was not praying for salvation. I was praying that God would be there with me. And not leave me. And that I knew I was dying. I was bleeding to death. I went blind from loss of blood. And all I wanted was that God be there. I wanted nothing else. I wanted God to ease my mother's pain. But I wasn't asking for anything. I knew I was dying. I wasn't going to be saved. You know, I gave it up. I gave my soul to Jesus. And I got ready to die. And my prayers were not for, give me this or give me that. It's just, God be with me. God, don't leave me. God, take me to a better place. We believe in better places. And I was a Lutheran. Yeah, I'm a fallen Lutheran. My grandfather rode for the circuit. He was a minister in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, and he gave a sermon every Sunday in English and German. And so I was raised as a Lutheran. And that prayer, it was nothing about give me this. I want a fancy car. I want a beautiful baby. I just God be with me.
Beautiful.
In the hour of my death.
And so you're in a better place, this church, as a fallen Lutheran. Yeah, we don't have this phrase as like fallen Jew.
His mother never forgave.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing this. Powerful. Yeah, success in the secular world, success means to succeed in material things. Success in Judaism means to be a mensch, to be a human being. Mensch is a great Yiddish word. It's really from German.
Oh, it's a good thing. Mensch is a good
Mensch is a good thing. Yeah. Mensch is a wonderful thing. You're a mensch. It's a compliment. Although it's if you're a Jew, a mensch is included already. I mean, if you know how to behave and you do the right things, a mensch is already there. But some people will say, it's good to say to a bar mitzvah child, be a mensch. That's a great, instead of saying, it's a good job. Mensch is someone that understands what they need to do in life. It's not about those kind of things. Look at the page 3. Are we? Oh, okay, that's 7:30 almost. Oh, the top one. Secular world, freedom of speech. I can say what I want to say. That's not the Jewish view of freedom of speech. The Jewish view is responsibility and obligation of speech. We all know that you can yell fire in a crowded movie theater. But what are you yelling? What are you talking about? Aren't we shocked about how many fictitious stories have come our way during the elections. I mean, what's truth anymore? What's fake news? What's made up news?
Particularly in the age of social media, it's just exploded.
Totally, totally. And no one takes responsibility, including some of the people nominated to be in the cabinet. You think about what they are saying and what they said when, and it's very strange. I think we don't spend enough time on talking about the responsibility of speech.
Very strange.
Study for knowledge and information in the secular world. In Judaism and Christianity, and I think Islam too, study is a lifelong exposure to sacred text and for ongoing dialogue with those texts. That's why I will never teach anything in this church without text. I think something happens to us when we have a text in front of us. This idea of dealing with this and reading it and trying to reflect on what we are reading. This is what I was trained to do. This idea of, that's a course I just finished in UNO, which was, I gave them a survey of all of Jewish literature, sacred literature, from the Bible all the way to mystical Kabbalistic text. Because there's something amazing when you have a text in front of you. It becomes a mirror to who you are. Becomes a way of looking at yourself and figuring out what that world is all about, and trying to figure out, how do I live with a sacred word? Last one. God, for some people, is a noun. In Judaism and Christianity and Islam, God is a verb. What is the difference between a noun and a verb? A what?
Object versus
Object or action.
Yeah. God is a verb. Constantly motivating, constantly alive. It's not a noun that I pay homage once in a while to. So I just gave you a little bit of taste of what's waiting us outside. By the way, they're winning. The outside is winning. I have to tell you that. I think that there is a lot of pressure on all of us in the way we need to indoctrinate our kids when they come back from the streets, in the way some of those holidays are being observed or not observed at all, actually ridiculed and brought to a very low common denominator of gifts alone. I think there is a world out there that needs to be changed. I'm not sure it can change by itself. I think we need to be the